gives me more time to talk. I don't want to just talk, but we can work on some stuff, right? And this is terrific. I mean, I feel like you don't hear this Mozart Quintet often enough. I mean, some of his greatest works are viola quintet. One of his instruments was the viola, right? I mean, you know, of course, we know about the Mozart being incredibly gifted, prodigious, child prodigy age 3 or 2, or maybe he was a friend, maybe he already played piano, or so, you know, touring Europe at the age of 6, and all these stories about him writing symphonies when he was under the age of 10. But he probably played a lot of instruments, actually. But it is known that he loved to play the viola, and you know, he used to sometimes read string quartets with Haydn's. And Dittersdorf and Von Hall, those are composers you don't hear about very much. But they would get together in Vienna and just read string quartets. Can you imagine all these great composers sitting down and reading chamber music together? So of course, Mozart understood the instruments well and wrote incredibly well for them. And the viola quintets are just these priceless pieces. So I'm glad you're playing it. I hope you're enjoying it, guys. You have to say yes. You don't have any choice. So this is a really dramatic piece. So I often ask this question when people are playing Mozart. So Mozart wrote all kinds of different music, right? But name some kinds of music that Mozart wrote. Like different ensembles, different kinds of what do we say, genres, or for different groups. Like what kinds of things do you know that he wrote?
Opera.
Opera. Who said opera? That was the answer that I was looking for, and you got there so quickly. That's perfect. But of course, the other right answers would be, you know, symphonies and violin concertos, no cello, any cello music, chamber music, and orchestral parts. And the violin, viola, symphony, which is a concerto, he wrote this piece, right? And of course, sonatas and tons of keyboard music. But operas are standouts for Mozart. So I like to think of Mozart first and foremost as an opera composer. So what happens in opera? Anyone?
Dramatic stuff.
Dramatic stuff. Exactly. Dramatic stuff happens better. I mean, you know, sleeping, opera goes on for 3 hours. Then what? You know, I mean, generally speaking, opera is drama, right? I mean, music, you have acting, you have a story. Sometimes the story is a little bit twisted and odd, but it's still a story, and there's a storyline. So this is not strictly what we would call programmatic music, right? There's no actual story with this piece. Maybe he was thinking one. Maybe he thought one and told his friends, but it's not something that we know for sure is the case. Nonetheless, we still want to create stories for ourselves. Have you done that kind of work with a piece? Do you have a story? Okay, so what I like to say is, think about a story, but for me, just as important is to just have some images, some ideas of characters, some feelings that you're looking for. So the two obvious characters in this piece, and when you get further up in the movement, of course, you know, the opening material, some fact, right? So there's this slow introduction, which is so different from the lively part of the movement, right? So just tell me now, I'll put you on the spot. What kind of character do you think that beginning is? First of all, it's slow, right? And it's a major key. It's not sad music, probably. I'll give you that much. Right? But maybe it's not cheerfully happy. But what other possibilities are there for that? Reflective? Yeah? Could be reflective. What else? It may be a little mysterious. Yep. I mean, I think these are right answers, and there aren't so many wrong answers unless you said, you know, like cheery going off to play ping pong or something like that. That probably wouldn't be what he was going for at the beginning, I'm guessing. But something that involves sort of thinking, feeling deeply, maybe even sort of awakening. What about that? When the sun comes out. And he does a really interesting thing because it's not, yes, this is a character, it's a slow part of the piece. And he marks it, a very slow marking, Larghetto, although there's a little note here that says the earlier version, he marked it adagio. So at some point, probably decided he wanted it slower. He makes various revisions in this piece. If you ever get to the last movement, that's a whole different conversation. He has 2 versions of the last movement, like actual notes. It's really interesting. In any case, so it's slow, we know it's slow, but there are also 2 things going on within the introduction. What are the 2 things going on in the introduction? And then, so that, talk about operatic. You know, these are clearly the different characters in the opera, right? And also, I think it's a kind of big deal that he decided to start with a complete cello figure. The other thing that's a big deal actually make this introduction work. But Mozart famously knew exactly how long the piece had to be, and was quoted as saying, "Oh, I write exactly the right number of notes, and I know precisely what needs to be done for the piece to work." You could probably make the introduction work if it were half as long. I mean, you can still create the feeling of it. So one of the challenges is it's not half as long, and you have a whole bunch of those. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those dong ba da 6, and then it still has another 6 measures after that until it's over, right? So you have to be thinking a little bit about how do I hold. Speaking of drama in opera, right? Holding the attention of the listener. So I think that's something you can work do a little bit better job. And let's spend a few minutes on this introduction, because I think if you can keep our interest while you're playing it 100%, then we'll be so delighted when you play the fast, because you will have pulled us into one world, and then we'll say, oh, but actually maybe it's about something else, and this is fun now, So right away, there's something. I mean, it's the funnest part of the cello is the C string, probably. I mean, we love cellos. We love to play on the pile all the time because it's to show off that we can do it televised, and we don't really need you because we can play as high as you can play. Well, we need you, it's okay. But there's something about it sort of. You do this once when you play the first gesture, and you go. Exhale with a sound. Yeah. But do one more time. Same thing. Yeah, and one more time with an even louder one. I'm a little ridiculous, I know, but good. Play it again now without doing that, but feel it as if you were making that sound. Just don't actually make it. So one thing you did when you made the sound is the timing was different. I felt like you were really knowing exactly where that note was going to be. And I feel like sometimes when you play these gestures, you're not exactly sure what splitting hairs to some degree, but it's like I'm doing this and it's sort of happening instead of. So the reason I had to make the sound, it helps us feel the weight of that. Because that's weighty. And then when you guys come in, whatever the notes are, but it's like, the birds flying. It's such a different feeling altogether. So yours is weighty, you guys are floating, right? But let's do it for real now with everybody. But even though you play by yourself, you have a great responsibility. And that is, first of all, to start the piece. And secondly, to let us all share in the start of the piece. So yeah, you don't have to cue them because they're not playing with you, but you do have to cue them because they're playing the piece with you. Does that make sense? Yeah. So we sometimes have to cue, like, you play Bach cello suite. You play Bach cello suite? Like, you do play Bach cello suite, you just sort of sit there and start. And then everybody's going to be like, what, did you start playing? What's going on over there? But you go, I don't have to cue anybody else, right? Playing by myself. But it's the music that you're cueing. So try that where you could feel that weightiness that you felt when you were making the sound. And then you guys you're sort of all, you're communicating more, right? It's interesting, you only one inside. I'm not objecting. Suddenly I heard the old one part. Wait, it's you! By the way, practical question. And I don't want to interfere with this necessarily. Do you feel like you're too spread out? Because I would normally tighten up. Can you just try that? I mean, I would say, I have blocked the cello a little bit, but I think I like to feel really close to my chamber music partner. I can hear better and I can convey ideas better. Yeah. Maybe just try, just give it a shot. See if you like it better. We actually, in my quartet, we've had a stand. It went back to like the 1950s. It was made for a Budapest quartet or some great group. And it was one stand that had the legs, and it had 4 music desks on it. And so we had to sit close together because it was one stand. But it actually seemed practical. Like, oh yeah, that's the way you kind of want to sit. Okay, let's try the beginning one more time. well, it's very hard to sustain a line in that tempo. But just keep in mind that it really has to be the two bars leading to the so the two bars really have to sustain. This is a rehearsal technique we do. Let's try it once. Where you intentionally play slow music faster than going to play it in real life, just so you can feel the shape. Right? So try this once. Try this tempo once. Not because you're doing anything particularly wrong, but I want to be sure it doesn't become and that's like, so we talk about there's tempo, there's pulse. You put a metronome on, you put a metronome on quarter notes, 1, 2, you put a metronome on dotted and half note. I don't know if the metronome goes that slow, but maybe the new one too. That's a very slow beat, right? And I think to some degree we have to think that we don't want 3 heavy beats. But let's do something else. Let's play this tempo. 1, 2, but I'm not suggesting you change the character. I just want you to feel the connection with the line. You just try that one more time. That tempo. 2, 3. Good. We only have to do one of those. What did that feel like to you guys?
Music more direct.
Yeah. Did it feel easier, harder, better, worse? Yeah. I mean, I would expect it to feel easier. It actually sounded beautiful. He probably had, we don't know for sure. There was no metronome in Mozart's day. And also, I've worked with zillion composers, and they put metronome markings in. Then you meet with the composer, and they say, "Why are you playing that tempo?" And we say, "Well, that's the metronome marking you put in." "Oh, I don't like it." So you can't totally trust the metronome marking. But at least it gives us a sense. Mozart, we don't even have to worry about that because there was no metronome. So, I mean, you could probably, the truth of the matter is, you could probably consider a slightly faster, not this fast, but a slightly faster tempo. And it's not because you didn't do it well. It's just that it's a lot of work to try to sustain the line. Right? On the other hand, you don't want to get to the point where you feel like, well, I'm taking a faster tempo because it's easier. Because maybe it's not meant to be easy. Right? All right, I'll leave you with that. But I want to point out one more thing about the bass line. What's super cool about those 6 that's your bass line. So I wonder if it would work. It wouldn't work, you'd have to put it in there or something. But the outline of the whole thing, then then you shorten it. Right? So somewhere you have to hold to a degree. It's very hard because it's slow, but you have to feel that. That's right. The first one is 4 measures, and then you do the second one. And then it's 4 measures, then the third one's only 2, fourth one's only 2, fifth one's only 2, and then the 6th one leads you to the A. Have you studied music theory? Anyone? Anyone? Do you know what the A is in the key of D? Well, D, F, A, so it's 5, right? And then we go to D, and then called the dominant. And dominant, most of the time, is going to resolve to the tonic. And what do you know when you start the rest of the movement? What key is it in? D, right? So he builds up this expectation, and he gives you what we call a pedal tone. You know what a pedal tone is? You've heard that before, probably. You know what? Do you know what it is? It's usually a low note. It's often a dominant, not always. Bach uses them a lot. Could be tonic, could be different notes. This one's a dominant. Dominant pedal tone. You know why it's called pedal tone? You know what an organ has? Pedals. So an organ, you would hold it down and you'd be able to sustain it and you could do what you wanted with your hands on the keys, right? So it's a pedal tone that creates tension through that and then okay. So I want you to play the introduction one more time. We're doing well. If we use most of our time on this, I don't think it's fast because it's hard stuff. One quick question in case we run out of time. In the Allegro, I know what you're going to answer, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Are you feeling it in 4 or 2? Because that's the right answer, right? Yeah, because you're right, it's cut time, right? But I think you're mostly doing that well. But keep in mind that sometimes 4/4 time, even when the composer writes, we call Allegro, so it's in 2. You So I like the two. I think it's exactly what you should do. But a little bit do, 4, 2, 4, 3, 5, and then those bars measure 26 and 27. Those bars are not in 2 or 4. Those bars are in, what do you think? Not 3. That's not the right answer. Those bars are in 1. I mean, you can have 4 going on in your head if you want, but we should feel. In fact, you know what those are in? Those are in 0.5 because it's actually 1 beat for 2 measures, right? Then 1. Then this material, that bar is kind of in 1 too. So I want you to have a little more fun with that because 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1. So the more you can get your brains to be flexible that way, you have to do it together. It's internal sense of pulse. You all feel the same pulse. No conductor. You're conveying the message constantly to each other. Right? And I saw some good moments when you were looking around. I like eyes and looking. If you play together long enough, you almost don't need to do that anymore. But I still think it's a good idea. I always feel more engaged with my jam music partner when I'm connecting visually. So I don't think you'll ever do too much of that unless you get lost because of it. But even then, it's a good reason to get lost. Okay, let's do the beginning one more time. And maybe try a teeny bit faster than you played before. And remember, you're going to think, when you play the D, yeah, you heard that D, but next time it's going to be an E. Oh, wait. Doesn't stop there. Then it's an F. And then it's an A. And then it's eventually going to be an A. But then you're going to take 2 more detours before. So just have it in your brain this map of what's going on. Sorry about that. I know you lost a little bit of them. I think they all have. Yeah. Nice. We don't expect this. On the next one, don't play the piano so soft. Then, breathe. Finish the idea. And now. You can be a little bit eager. Breathe. G sharp to the chord. Just to hear one more time. I need to hear a little more some of these dissonances. So in particular, second viola, I need someday I'll learn to read alto, but G sharp. Yeah, just a not loud, but just lean into it a little bit. But this is some of the fun stuff about music. And Mozart gives you a lot of dynamics in this piece, doesn't it? Haydn not very many. Sometimes Mozart fewer. But it gives you a lot of dynamics. But it doesn't tell you the whole story, right? And I think in the context of a piano, for example, you can shake a little bit, bring something up a little bit. And, you know, that's where we can become more and more creative as performers. We're replicating music that already exists, but we're doing stuff with it. Right? Can we just do the G sharp on measure 15? That's better. And then what I found from playing this piece is that I don't want to get too fancy here, but basically the tempo stays the same. But some of them feel more this way, some of them feel a little more this way. And I'm not suggesting rushing and coming in early, but like for example, measure 9. Oh, sorry. And then so there's something poignant about that. Yeah. Oh, pleading a little bit. It's maybe not like full-fledged sad and sobbing, but you're creating this expressive. I don't think it means literally to come in early. But you should feel a little more urgent there. But let's do the last one, measure 15. Oh. right away so light. Save it for the last one. So the first one is, oh, still has a little more sound. Let's do, oh, okay. I'm a product of this new world. You know what I just did to the score? See, you verify the paper, right? So I did this. We live in iPad's world. Now, you guys are using it. This one I have to turn. Okay, let's just do a little bit of the Allegro, just like 2 minutes of Allegro. Now, dynamics. I mentioned dynamics. I tossed a few things out at you, not that we didn't try, but you know where you're feeling 2 and 1 and 4. Whereas the tempo stays the same, but you're feeling different pulse, whether it's a half note or a quarter, because obviously quarter notes twice as fast as half note, or whole notes 4 times as long as a quarter note. Okay. The dynamics are so meticulous here. And if it's Beethoven and he writes a subito, you know, okay, we're going to really do the subito. Mozart, we're not always so sure. But I think he really means these because he's so clear about it. We should have no idea. And then here. So the danger is these get louder. So I would be more careful with that because I think it's more exciting that way. And you can embrace this character that is really energetic and a little bit filled with surprises. Okay. Let's just do a little bit of Allegro, then I have to tell you the sadly. One more time. In general, okay, I'm biased. That's my instrument. We have other cellos too. Just notice, you know, we're a cello trio here. Oh, staring at you all. But in any case, and we love violins as well. We love bass players too, though. But quartet, quintet, supporting the bass is important. Doesn't mean you're louder than the melody, but the role is so important because it provides a sort of basis. So just keep that in mind. Okay, one more time, just a few measures of this. And sit still, and then good. You don't have to wait longer, but you have to feel the rest again. So this is an important piece of information to leave. The rest are sometimes the most exciting moments. The rest are sometimes the most expressive moments. The rest are sometimes the most intense moments. So chick, chuck, and then. So if one person out of 5 says, "Oh, I'm not going to rest now," the moment you let go of that, you're breaking the tension or the excitement or the energy from it. So you have to coordinate very carefully how you deal with your rest. And one last thing, this is a total detail, but I'm always obsessed with it. It's an 8th note. Now, sometimes you guys do it. Sometimes you do more like a 16. I would be sure to be consistent with that. It's ta, 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 which is a little more gentle than da, ba, da, so I believe that what he wrote. I believe him. I believe Mozart. Yeah. All right. There's lots of other fun stuff we could do if we had more time. But thank you very much. That was terrific.